The story begins at the gates of the Demon King's castle, where the hero Yuga and his party gather their courage for the final confrontation. As the massive doors creak open, ominous eyes peer from the darkness. Inside, they are met by Yoki, the Demon King's top general, who mocks their weakness. The party strikes first. The mage's energy blast is effortlessly dissipated, and the swordsman is sent flying with a single kick. In a desperate move, the support mage, Cecilia, buffs Yuga for his ultimate attack. Yuga unleashes his light magic against Yoki's infinite darkness. The clash is brief. Yoki's power overwhelms them, leaving the entire party unconscious. As Yuga fades out, wondering if this is the end, Yoki's demeanor shifts. Instead of finishing them, he begins to heal his enemies. His gaze lingers on Cecilia, is instantly struck by her beauty. Distracted, he eventually locks them in the dungeon. When his subordinates suggest execution, they catch Yoki staring intensely at the unconscious Cecilia and reprimand him, softening Yoki's eyes, and orders his men to drop the heroes off near a human village, painfully whispering goodbye to his angelic love. 1 month later, the Demon King summons Yoki, his right hand, Sail, notes that the heroes have returned to challenge the castle 13 times now. While the Demon King views them as persistent pests and orders their execution, Yoki interjects. He claims the heroes aren't worth the king's time, fearing his subordinates would actually kill them, especially Cecilia. The Demon King agrees to let Yoki handle it personally. Back in his room, Yoki is torn. He is the only one strong enough to stop the heroes, but he knows they aren't powerful enough to defeat the Demon King yet. If he doesn't intervene, the world will fall to darkness. The next day, the heroes strike again. Yoki easily handles Yuga and the swordsman, but the assault mage, Mikana, catches him off guard with a double wave spell. Yoki's lightning-fast reflexes save him, leaving Mikana in shock. Seeing Cecilia healing her comrades again, Yoki blushes. Hiding his feelings behind a mask of arrogant laughter, Yuga refuses to back down. But Yoki makes a bizarre proposal. You may pass, but only if you leave the girl behind. Yuga is outraged, but Mikana points out the cold logic. Yoki could kill them all instantly. To save the mission, they must accept his mercy. Cecilia bravely agrees to stay, and the party moves forward, promising to return for her. Left alone, Cecilia prepares for a fight, but Yoki immediately surrenders. Confused, she asks why he hasn't killed her. If I wanted you dead, you'd be gone already, he admits. Gathering his courage, Yoki drops the bombshell. I fell in love with you at first sight. Please, go out with me. Cecilia is stunned and politely rejects him. The rejection is so devastating that Yoki loses his will to live, inviting her to strike him down. When she stops her attack, realizing he isn't defending himself, Yoki confesses his tragic reality. He has been trapped in the Demon King's castle his entire life. Forced to destroy villages he never wanted to hurt, Cecilia is skeptical, believing all demons are inherently evil. To prove his sincerity, Yoki reveals a shocking secret. He is a reincarnated soul from another world, a human trapped in a demon's body. Cecilia wonders why someone so powerful didn't just kill the Demon King himself. Yoki explains the cruel irony: if he killed the king, he would simply be forced to take the throne and continue the atrocities against humanity. He had resigned himself to a life of misery until he met her. Cecilia, moved by his story, urges him to use his strength for good and offers to help him integrate into human society. A few days later, the kingdom of Clarence erupts in a 3-day celebration. To walk among humans, Yoki painfully rips off his own demon horn and enters the city in disguise. While the hero Yuga basks in the glory, ignoring the growing jealousy of his teammate, Mikana Yoki visits the Adventurers Guild. He meets Clayman, a lazy receptionist who barely looks up from his paperwork. Yoki registers as a bottom-tier rank F adventurer. However, his power is undeniable. In just 1 week, he completes a mountain of quests, skyrocketing to rank Diaphyte that normally takes months. This meteoric rise catches the attention of everyone in the guild, including a mysterious hooded figure. The figure is Cecilia. She intercepts Yoki and whisks him away to her estate for a private talk. Inside, she explains the danger of his newfound fame. Since the Demon King's fall, nations are already tooth and nail in a cold war for power. Yuga is being bombarded with offers of money and women to serve as a political tool. Cecilia fears that if Yoki's true strength is discovered, he will be hunted by kings who want to use him as a weapon of mass destruction. "I'll hire you myself," she offers. Though she admits she can't match a kingdom's treasury, Yoki brushes the concern aside with a grin. "Even if they offered me the most beautiful woman in the world, I only have eyes for you." The moment is interrupted by Cecilia's mother, Celia, who enters with news that further rattles Yoki. Cecilia is being flooded with marriage proposals, including one from the hero Yuga himself. Sensing Yoki's panic, Cecilia quickly reassures him that she has already turned Yuga down, though the threat of political suitors remains. Cecilia's mother wasted no time testing Yoki's intentions. She bluntly asked if he wanted to marry her daughter. To her surprise, Yoki declined, not because he didn't want to, but because he wished to build a stable life as an adventurer first and respect Cecilia's previous rejection. Impressed by his integrity, Celia gave him her blessing to visit the manor, much to Yoki's euphoric joy. He and Cecilia even agreed to drop formalities and call each other by their first names. Massive milestone for our love-struck protagonist. The next day, while Yoki was busy turning a monster cockatrice into magical KFC for a quest, he was ambushed, not by enemies, but by his former demonic subordinates, Duca Dulahan, Sika Pixie, and Happiness, a harpy. After a brief, chaotic reunion where Yoki had to explain he was now a human adventurer, the trio refused to leave his side. Despite the risks, Yoki stripped them of their demonic features so they could blend in. However, the transition wasn't smooth. When they met Cecilia, she immediately scolded Yoki for his lack of sensitivity in how he handled the harpy's feathers. Much to the demon's amusement, the group was welcomed into Cecilia's home, where the demons revealed a different side of Yoki, while the other generals were warmongers. Yoki was the lazy genius who refused to leave his room, frustrating the Demon King to no end. The chaos at the manor escalated quickly. Seek, the pixie, ended up napping in Celia's lap. Happiness, the harpy, was kidnapped by the headmaid Sophia, who mistook her for a new recruit. Surprisingly, Happiness loved the maid uniform so much, she begged to keep the job, officially becoming part of the household staff. With the demons settled, Celia pulled Yoki aside with a golden opportunity. Cecilia had a day off coming up. On the day of the date, Yoki waited nervously until a carriage arrived. Cecilia stepped out wearing a disguise, including a pair of glasses that left Yoki completely stunned. Since she was a national hero, she couldn't walk the streets openly. But to Yoki, she had never looked more beautiful. As they wandered through the city, exploring bakeries and planning their tea stops, Yoki made a silent vow. This would be the best day of her life. The date began perfectly. Yoki was mesmerized by Cecilia, from her simple joy in a flower shop to the adorable way she played with a stray cat. They visited a boutique where Yoki helped her choose a stunning red dress, and later, he decided to buy her a special gift at an accessory shop to thank her for the day. However, the romantic atmosphere was shattered when Yuga and Mikana appeared. Despite being on a date with Mikana, Yuga immediately ignored her to pester Cecilia. Mikana, frustrated by Yuga's obsession, pulled Yoki aside. She bluntly told him to hurry up and win Cecilia over. So Yuga would finally notice her, though she couldn't resist calling Yoki a homely loser in the process. Inside the shop, a silent war began. Yoki carefully picked out a delicate necklace for Cecilia, which she adored. But Yuga, desperate to outdo him, brandished the most expensive item in the store. In his arrogance, Yuga forcibly pulled off Cecilia's hat to try the accessory on her, instantly exposing her identity to the public. A frenzied crowd of fans swarmed the Holy Maiden, trampling Yoki and dragging Cecilia away. As Yoki struggled to find her in the chaos, he stumbled upon Raven, the party's swordsman, who was being mobbed by Using a clever distraction, Yoki rescued Raven and pulled him into a quiet alley. There, a surprising discovery. Raven has an incredibly feminine voice. Shamed by his own unmanly sound, Raven expected ridicule, but Yoki was remarkably kind, noting that everyone has parts of themselves they dislike. Touched by this empathy, Raven asked to be Yoki's frienda. Request Yoki accepted before rushing back to find his date. Yoki eventually found Cecilia near a lost child. While they worked together to reunite the boy with his mother, the peaceful moment was short-lived. Between the exhaustion of the crowd and a sudden chill, Cecilia's strength began to fail. The fallout was immediate. The next day, Yoki learned that Cecilia had collapsed with a severe fever. Her mother, Celia, explained that the stress caused by Yuga's reckless stunt, combined with existing fatigue, had completely broken her daughter's health. While Yuga remained oblivious to the damage he caused, Yoki's guilt grew. Seeing the woman he loved suffer because of the hero's selfishness, Cecilia's recovery began with a bit of chaos. Her mother, Celia, revealed that she had to send the maid, Sophia, to forcibly remove the hero Yuga, who kept trying to barge in. While Yoki was impressed that a maid could manhandle a hero so easily, he was finally allowed into Cecilia's bedroom. The atmosphere was tense and awkward. Cecilia was mortified not just because she was in bed, but because Sophia accidentally teased her about her hidden teddy bear, shattering her cool image. Yoki, feeling guilty for her illness, promised to make their next date 10 times better. His over-the-top heroic bragging made Cecilia burst into laughter, which promptly got him kicked out by Sophia, who claimed his jokes were too dangerous for a sick patient's health. On his way home, Yoki ran into Raven. The swordsman was nervous. Admitting he wanted to confess his love to a girl who had been kind to his voice, Yoki, being a supportive friend, gave him a massive pep talk. It was only after Raven marched toward the manor that reality hit Yoki. Wait, Cecilia is the only girl kind to everyone. Did I just help my rival? Panicked Yoki spiraled into a mental crisis, imagining Raven and Cecilia's romantic adventures during their quest. His despair was short-lived, however, as Raven returned minutes later looking utterly defeated. Yoki rushed back to the manor to get the gossip from Sophia, only to discover the hilarious truth. Raven wasn't there for Cecilia. He had fallen for Happiness, the harpy maid. But why did Happiness reject him so coldly? Yoki sought answers from his demon comrades, Duke and Seek. They revealed a darker side to the world. Harpies are a beautiful race, often hunted by humans for their feathers and bodies. Duke had rescued Happiness from human traffickers years ago, which explained her deep-seated trauma and distrust of men. While Seek pointed out that she clearly didn't hate all humans since she loved working for Celia, it was clear that for Happiness, opening her heart to a human man like Raven was a bridge she wasn't ready to cross yet. Yoki realized that even in this new, peaceful life, the scars of the past still lingered for his friends. The next day, Yoki headed to the Adventurers Guild, only to find the lazy receptionist, Clayman, missing. A colleague revealed a shocking truth. Clayman isn't just a patron, he's actually the vice captain of the guild. Even more shocking was the reason for his absence. He was in the hospital. Yoki rushed to visit him and found Clayman covered in bandages from head to toe. The cause? A disagreement with his wife over a forgotten anniversary gift. As it turns out, Clayman's wife is a former Rank A adventurer, and together they were once known as the Invincible Couple. The mystery was solved when the wife walked into the room. It was Sophia, the stern maid from Cecilia's manor. Despite the brutal beating she gave him, Clayman refused Yoki's healing magic, jokingly preferring to recover under his wife's tender, if violent, care. Taking advantage of the moment, Yoki asked Sophia for romantic advice. Her answer was simple. A girl will appreciate any gift as long as there is thought behind it. With this advice in mind, Yoki went to check on Raven. He found the swordsman paralyzed by depression on his bed. Yoki managed to snap him out of it by mentioning Happiness. Raven recounted their first meeting. He had rescued her from thugs in an alley, and in the heat of the moment, his high-pitched voice slipped out. Instead of mocking him, Happiness had called his voice a blessing. That kindness was what made Raven fall for her. Yoki, showing his growth as a leader, didn't let Raven give up. He explained Happiness's trauma with humans and encouraged Raven to try again, this time with a thoughtful gesture. Instead of a sudden confession, the two went to the market together, an awkward outing where Raven feared people would mistake them for a couple. While Yoki picked out a new necklace for Cecilia, he helped Raven choose a delicate ornament for Happiness. Recalling Sophia's words, Yoki reassured the knight, "It's not about the price, but the heart behind the gift." At the market, Yoki and Raven's shopping trip was interrupted by Mikana. After a bit of teasing, she dragged them into a cafe to gossip. Yoki, ever the open book, admitted he had made little progress with Cecilia. Mikana then dropped a truth bomb about Yuga. The hero was a total narcissist and a pervert who let fangirls slow down their mission, which is why Cecilia despised his frivolous nature. She warned Yoki, "One wrong move, and you'll be on her blacklist forever." However, the tone shifted when Makana opened up about her own guilt. She revealed the dark secret of their victory. They never actually reached the Demon King. They were crushed 13 times by a single general, Yoki, though he acted surprised. To save face, the party lied to villagers, taking resources while repeatedly failing. The breaking point was when the demon, General, offered to let them pass if they sacrificed Cecilia. Makana was the one who convinced the group to agree, prioritizing the mission over her friend. Since then, Yuga has secretly resented her. Tears in her eyes, she asked Yoki if a friend could ever be forgiven for such a betrayal. Raven stepped in, sharing the blame for his own silence during that moment. Yoki, feeling a twinge of guilt since he was the one who made the cruel demand, gave Makana the push she needed. "Are you really okay with things being awkward forever? Talk to her." Encouraged, Makana left to make amends. Inspired by her bravery, Raven decided to try one last time with happiness. Accompanied by Yoki, he returned to the manor, only to be blocked by Duke. The Dullahan was furious to see the human pest back. Again, after Happiness had already rejected him, the tension between Duke and Raven reached a head, when the Dullahan pushed the knight to prove his sincerity. Realizing that a grand heroic speech wasn't what Happiness needed, Raven opted for a humble approach. He offered her the gift and simply asked to be her friend. Touched by his gentleness, Happiness accepted, giving Raven a glimmer of hope for the future. A week later, Yoki was spiraling into a lazy depression. With the Demon King gone, the hero's party had split up to handle professional duties. Cecilia was traveling to heal the sick. Raven was leading the knights, and Mikana was serving as a royal mage. Yoki felt a strange guilt for having let them win, effectively breaking up their group. His moping was cut short when Happiness arrived with news. Cecilia was coming home that afternoon. Yoki grabbed the necklace he bought and headed into town. His day, however, was cursed from the start. A fortune teller warned him of terrible luck, which Yoki dismissed until he accidentally stepped in dog gold, collided with a giant of a man, and had to pay for a child's ruined snack. The final straw came when a pickpocket swiped his wallet. Yoki used his demonic speed to pin the thief against a wall, but Yuga the hero suddenly appeared. True to his arrogant and dense nature, Yuga misread the situation entirely, accusing Yoki of mugging an innocent man. Before Yoki could explain, Yuga drew his sword. In the scuffle, Yoki's coin purse was shredded, scattering his savings everywhere. To make matters worse, the royal guards sided with the hero and threw Yoki into prison, sitting in a cold cell. Yoki questioned every choice he'd made in life. His misery was interrupted by Duke, who couldn't resist mocking his former master from behind the bars. However, Duke offered some comfort. Raven was personally investigating the case and knew Yoki was innocent. Despite being a captain now, Raven's loyalty to Yoki remained unshakable, much to the annoyance of Duke, who still refused to recognize anyone but Yoki as a true leader. Yoki's time in jail was short-lived. An elf named Irene arrived with the keys, confirming that Raven had cleared Yoki's name. To make amends for the false arrest, Yuga invited Yoki to a lavish banquet. Despite his annoyance, Yoki couldn't help but be slightly disarmed by Yuga's energetic, albeit dim-witted, personality. As they ate, the conversation turned to Cecilia. Yuga, oblivious to Yoki's feelings, asked for advice on how to get closer to her. When Yoki tried to redirect the conversation toward Mikana, Yuga's tone darkened. He claimed Mikana hated Cecilia because she was the one who suggested abandoning her at the Demon King's castle. He interrupted Yuga's self-righteous story and dropped a heavy truth. Mikana didn't act out of hate. She acted out of desperate guilt to save the party. Yoki revealed that Mikana had wept over the decision, a fact that left Yuga stunned, but Yoki didn't stop there. He looked the hero in the eye and called him out. "You're a coward, Yuga. You were the leader. You made the final choice to leave her behind, yet you've spent all this time blaming Mikana to protect your own ego. You're a pathetic excuse for a hero." The harsh words broke Yuga, who dissolved into tears. After calming down, Yuga confessed that Mikana was his childhood friend, the one person who always supported and corrected him. He realized he had betrayed that lifelong bond by making her the scapegoat for his own failure. Yoki, showing surprising maturity, suggested that Yuga let Makana scold him like she used to, because you only bother to scold someone you truly care about. Renewed with hope, Yuga dragged Hyoki and Raven to Makana's house for moral support. While the two waited outside, Yuga, true to his impulsive nature, burst into Makana's room while she was Her terrified screams echoed through the neighborhood, a clear sign to Hyoki and Raven that Yuga had, once again, failed the execution. Even if his heart was finally in the right place inside Makana's room. The air was thick with confusion and bit of electricity. Yuga, finally facing his past, apologized sincerely for blaming Mikana for abandoning Cecilia. However, he followed it up with a bizarre request: "Please, scold me, as punishment." Makana, oscillating between touching emotion and sheer disbelief, laughed hysterically before deciding that a magical scolding was indeed in order. She unleashed her wand, electrocuting the hero as Hyoki slipped away, leaving Yuga to face his long overdue and slightly masochistic consequences. As Hyoki walked home, his luck took a dramatic turn for the better. The fortune teller, baffled by his changing aura, watched him go. In quick succession, Hyoki was gifted free cupcakes from the bakery owner and a pile of gourmet meat skewers from a wealthy butler, a reward for his earlier kindness to the lost child. Loaded with treats, Hyoki arrived at Cecilia's manor. Happiness, though grumpy about his tardiness, let him in. In the quiet of her room, Cecilia prepared tea, proudly showing off her domestic skills. But the peace was shattered when Yuga burst in, followed closely by Makana and Raven. In a powerful moment of vulnerability, the three heroes stood before Cecilia and apologized for leaving her behind. Cecilia, with her characteristic grace, forgave them instantly. She revealed that even after the final blow against the Demon King, Mikana had sprinted back to find her, collapsing in her arms from exhaustion. They hadn't abandoned her out of malice, but out of a desperate duty to the world. With the weight of the past finally lifted, the heroes' party laughed together, their bond restored. Later, Cecilia took a walk with Hyoki. She knew he was the one who orchestrated this reconciliation. Hyoki admitted it, feeling it was his responsibility, since his actions as a demon general had caused the rift. Touched by his selflessness, Cecilia thanked him for becoming a true part of her world. Seizing the moment, Hyoki finally presented her with the necklace. With a nervous heart, he asked if she would accept it. "I will treasure it forever," she promised with a smile that outshone any treasure. A few days later, a new mission began. Hyoki and Cecilia traveled toward a disaster-stricken village. However, the romantic atmosphere was slightly dampened by Seek the Pixie, who insisted on tagging along. As they sat together in the carriage, Hyoki couldn't help but glare at his third-wheel friend, still wishing for just a few more minutes of peace with the woman he loved. The journey to the devastated village was far from romantic. The bumpy road left Cecilia battling motion sickness, but Seek saved the day with a secret pixie potion that worked wonders. Seeing the two of them bickering like old friends, Cecilia felt a wave of relief. She was in good company. Upon arrival, the village chief welcomed them, and Hyoki and Seek wasted no time. They posed as volunteer healers, working tirelessly alongside Cecilia to treat the victims of a recent bandit raid. While Hyoki admired Cecilia's dedication, he noticed something strange. Despite the violence of the attack, none of the villagers had died. The chief explained that a mysterious figure had appeared out of nowhere, terrifying the bandits and forcing them to flee. As the day wore on, Cecilia pushed herself to the brink of collapse. Concerned for her health, Hyoki did something drastic. He cast a sleep spell on her, though the villagers were initially shocked, thinking he had attacked her. Hyoki calmly explained he was just forcing her to rest. When Cecilia woke up, she was furious at his high. Hyoki apologized, but stood his ground. "You would have collapsed if I hadn't," seeing the truth in his words, and realizing he had finished healing everyone while she slept. Cecilia softened and thanked him, leaving Hyoki blushing like a schoolboy. The chief then asked for one more favor, to check on Till, a young girl living on the outskirts who suffered from a chronic illness. At her house, Seek's medicine provided Till with instant relief. Grateful, Till claimed her deity had answered her prayers. She told a chilling story years ago. As a child, she was surrounded by a pack of wolves when the village is ancient. Demon statue glowed with a dark power, and annihilated the beasts. She believed the same deity had protected her during the bandit raid. Yoki and Cecilia followed Till to the shrine, only to find a terrifying demonic sculpture. While Till defended her beloved deity, Yoki's blood ran cold. He recognized the statue immediately. It wasn't a god, but a gargoyle from the demon realm. As if on cue, the stone creature's eyes glowed and it sprang to life. Yoki barely managed to dodge its first strike, shouting a warning to Seek as the deity, turned into a deadly predator. The confrontation with the gargoyle ended as quickly as it began. Seek effortlessly pinned the creature, but Yoki stopped him from delivering the final blow. Sensing Yoki's authority, the gargoyle stood down and shared its tragic story. Originally a shrine protector, it had been stolen by bandits and later abandoned. When those same bandits attacked this village, the gargoyle fought back, earning its place as a local deity. For years, it lived peacefully, moved by the kindness of Till, the sick girl who never stopped caring for its statue. Yoki realized the demon had no malice. It only wanted to protect its one true friend. Later that night, as they walked back, Yoki sent Seek ahead to ensure some private time with Cecilia. The atmosphere was heavy with unspoken words. At one point, Cecilia tripped over a tree root, and Yoki caught her in his arms. The sudden closeness left both blushing and speechless. A brief romantic spark before the peace was shattered by the village's alarm bells. The bandits were back. Yoki, Seek, and Cecilia rushed into the fray. While Seek and Yoki handled the main force, a second group of bandits set fire to the area near the gargoyle's shrine. Sensing a deeper threat, Yoki sent Seek to check on the statue, while he stayed behind to wipe out the remaining raiders with a massive tornado spell. When Yoki and Cecilia finally reached the shrine, they found a scene of devastation. The gargoyle was wounded, Till was crying, and Seek was being held by the throat by a mysterious, arrogant young man. With a sneer, the stranger tossed Seek aside like trash. Cecilia identified him. Miller, a hero from a neighboring empire. Miller mocked them, claiming he was simply exterminating a wild demon. Yoki's blood boiled. He pointed out that the gargoyle was protecting an innocent girl, but Miller didn't care to him. Fame came from killing demons, regardless of their nature. As Miller lunged to finish the job, Yoki fired a magic projectile. Miller deflected it with his sword, his eyes gleaming with a twisted sense of justice. Yoki realized that while Yuga was just a fool, Miller was a monster, wearing a hero's cape. The battle against Miller was a clash of ideologies. Armed with a magic-eating sword, Miller mocked Yoki, believing he was invincible against any spell. The rogue hero even went as far as severing the gargoyle's arm, declaring his desire to spark a world war just for the thrill of the slaughter. Yoki didn't back down. He did the unthinkable. He bombarded Miller with so much high-level magic that the magic-eating blade reached its saturation point. Under the sheer pressure of Yoki's mana, the legendary sword shattered into dust. Defenseless, Miller was struck down, but in a final act of cowardice, he fired a massive volley of arrows at the weakened villagers. While Yoki protected the group, Miller fled, but not before Till was wounded while shielding her beloved gargoyle. Seeing his friends hurt, Yoki's restraint finally snapped. He unleashed his true demonic form with terrifying speed. Yoki hunted Miller through the forest. He caught the hero and prepared to deliver a fatal blow. But Miller's twisted excitement at the prospect of death reminded Yoki of the abyss he had left behind. Realizing he didn't want to become a monster for Cecilia's sake, Yoki regained his sanity and tossed a broken Miller into a lake, deeming him unworthy of being killed. Returning to his human form, Yoki was met by a tearful Cecilia, who healed his wounds and wept with relief that he was safe. The aftermath brought new beginnings. To save the damaged gargoyle, Yoki disguised it as a simple earth statue. Till, now fully recovered, began working as a maid at the manor, spending every spare second caring for her deity in Yoki's room. Finally, Yoki and Cecilia were summoned by King Darts. After dropping his arrogant royal facade, the king thanked them for stopping Miller and the bandits, offering them any reward: gold, land, or even the throne. Yoki looked the king in the eye and made a request that left the entire court in shock. "I don't want your treasures. I want Cecilia's hand in marriage." While the king laughed, admitting that even a monarch couldn't command a woman's heart, Cecilia's face turned bright red. As they left the palace, she immediately began scolding Yoki for his shameless boldness, though her smile suggested that, perhaps, the king wasn't the only one Yoki had managed to impress. Yoki's bold marriage proposal didn't come without a price. While Cecilia was flustered, her mother, Celia, was far from impressed by his scandalous behavior and banned Yoki from visiting for a month. Cecilia, however, couldn't bear the thought of being apart for so long and managed to negotiate the punishment down to 2 weeks. During his exile, Yoki threw himself into his work, taking on the hardest guild missions to prove his worth. But when he finally returned to his room, he found a dying friend. Guy, the gargoyle, was literally crumbling. As a being made of stone and magic, Guy's body had reached its limit, and he had only days to live. His only regret was leaving Till behind, especially since the girl's chronic illness had suddenly taken a turn for the worse. Why okay, I refused to accept this. I'm not losing a perfectly good piece of room decor, he joked, hiding his true concern. He learned from Duke that Guy could be repaired with rare magic, while Seek revealed that Till needed evening herb to break her lethal fever. But there was a problem. The local guild was completely out of both. Just as hope seemed lost, Clayman stepped in with a special request. A mutated rock monster had taken over a nearby mine, a place rich in both magic ore and evening herb. The monster had absorbed so much energy that it was completely immune to magic. For Yoki, a mage, this was the worst possible matchup. 2 days later, the group, including Cecilia and Sophia, arrived at the mining town. Clayman warned them to wait until morning. The monsters in the mine were far more dangerous under the moonlight. As Yoki stared at the dark entrance of the mine, he knew that his magic, the very thing that made him a demon general, would be useless. To save Till and Guy, he would have to fight not as a sorcerer, but as a man willing to risk everything for those he loved. The final battle, in the depths of the magic, mines wouldn't be won by raw power alone. The rock monster, gorged on magical minerals, proved to be a formidable foe, completely immune to direct offensive spells. As they prepared for the descent, Sophia revealed that her maid outfit was actually custom-made combat armor, a detail Clayman bashfully admitted he requested. Upon finding the beast, the strategy was clear. Total immobilization. Yoki used earth magic and ice chains, while Cecilia reinforced the bindings to keep the creature pinned. Clayman deployed his paper puppets to slice through incoming debris. The plan was dangerous. Sophia had to leap inside the monster's maw to destroy it from within. As the monster struggled, it shed parts of its body that turned into minions. These minions also resisted magic, forcing Yoki to switch tactics and crush them with his bare fists to protect the group. In a heart-stopping moment, the beast broke free and threw Cecilia through the air. But before it could deliver a finishing blow, Sophia tore through its vitals from the inside, reducing its guts to rubble. The giant collapsed, and after a frantic hug between Clayman and Sophia, the group finally harvested the evening herb, though Clayman insisted on waiting until morning for safety. Yoki knew every second counted for Till and Guy. To his surprise, Cecilia intercepted him as he tried to sneak out. With a knowing smile, she handed him the bag of herbs. "Hurry back to your friends," she said, watching as he transformed into his demonic form and took to the skies. Why okay, I arrived just in time. He handed the herbs to Seek to save Till and forced Guy to consume the magic ore. The miracle happened. Guy's stone body stopped cracking, and his severed arm regrew instantly. The sight of the Guardian reunited with the young girl was the ultimate proof that Yoki's journey of redemption was worth it. The next morning, after flying back to join the carriage unnoticed, the weary ex-demon general finally allowed himself a moment of absolute peace, resting his head on Cecilia's lap as they headed home in the carriage ride back. Cecilia gave Yoki the ultimate reward, a peaceful rest on her lap, but the tranquility was short-lived. A few days later, under a heavy rain, 3 shadowy figures stood atop a roof, opening a forbidden grimoire that revealed a haunting, mystical Aja sign of a new threat looming over the city. The next morning, Yoki found himself frustrated. Cecilia was swamped with duties, leaving him wandering the streets alone. He ran into Clayman, who was out shopping for an anniversary gift for Sophia. Ever the helpful friend Yoki joined the search. He jokingly suggested a pair of cat ears to go with Sophia's maid uniform. But Clayman, blushing and flustered, insisted he wasn't into that dot while Clayman finished his shopping. A sleek black hero suit caught Yoki's eye. He bought it instantly, feeling like a legendary caped crusader. Clayman watched in disbelief as Yoki began acting like a low-budget Batman, demanding the toughest rank A missions to test his new persona. The guild was skeptical of the strange man in black. But with Clayman's backing, Yoki took on an impossible list of quests. He vanished into the wilderness, slaying a black dragon and delivering its heart for a medical emergency, before completing 2 more high-stakes hunts in record time by nightfall. Only one mission remained, stopping a heist at a major warehouse. Inside, a trio of thieves named Envy, Herburn, and Jealousy had neutralized the guards, using a dark magic book. Just as they cornered the terrified owner to seize his goods, Yoki made his dramatic entrance. Leaping from the shadows and ordering them to surrender, Envy laughed at the costumed freak and sent his companions to attack. Herburn lunged from above, but Yoki dodged, causing her to smash a crate that spilled thousands of heart-shaped candies. Realizing the weight of the situation, Yoki unleashed a chain lightning spell, incapacitating Herburn and Jealousy in seconds. Envy stepped forward, using his grimoire to summon a massive tornado, but Yoki's lightning ripped through the wind. With a final strike of his blade, the thieves were defeated. As the Royal Knights arrived to secure the scene, the warehouse owner thanked Yoki profusely for saving his life. His entire stock of Valentine's Day chocolates, .yoki, stood there, stunned. He had no idea this world celebrated Valentine's Day. But as he looked at the heart-shaped candies, a new plan began to form in his head when the Royal Knights arrived at the warehouse. They were met with a sight that left them in absolute silence. Yoki, still dressed as a Temo version Batman. He tried to maintain his heroic persona, but he couldn't fool Duke or Raven. Duke pulled him aside into the shadows, telling him to drop the act before he died of embarrassment. Looking into a mirror, Yoki finally realized that his ridiculous costume was costing him way too many aura points. He quickly ditched the suit and returned to the guild to claim his reward. Clayman explained that the thieves were once ordinary adventurers, corrupted by a dark book, driven by a bizarre urge to ruin Valentine's Day for everyone. As the holiday approached, the town buzzed with romantic energy. In Celia's kitchen, the maids were busy tempering chocolate. Little Till struggled to break a giant cocoa block, but Sophia stepped in with a swift karate chop, shattering it instantly. Meanwhile, Cecilia and Mikana were preparing a massive batch. Cecilia claimed they were just for orphans, keeping her true intentions for Yoki a secret. Valentine's morning arrived, and Yoki woke up full of hope. Even the literal rock statue guy was more aware of the holiday than him. But Yoki's hope turned to salt when Till burst into his room, ignored him completely, and started hand-feeding heart-shaped chocolates to Guy. Driven out by jealousy, Yoki headed to the guild, only to find Clayman gloating over a special batch of chocolates from Sophia, savoring every bite in front of the miserable single adventurers, specifically warning Yoki not even to think about touching one. Frustrated, Yoki went to find Duke, only to witness a young female knight shyly offering Duke a gift out of admiration for his hard work. Then, he spotted Raven and Happiness in a quiet room, with the harpy maid struggling to hand over her homemade sweets. Even Yuga was having a field day. He was surrounded by a massive crowd of fangirls. Yok. I spotted Mikana standing on the edge of the crowd, looking nervous. Yuga managed to slip away from his admirers to find her, specifically asking for her gift. Mikana was mortified, warning him that her cooking was terrible. She revealed a chocolate ball that looked more like a horrific tumor than a snack. To Yoki's shock, Yuga didn't flinch. He ate it with a grin, declaring that Valentine's wouldn't be complete without Mikana's gift. Before Yoki could process the heartwarming and slightly gross moment, the mob of fangirls spotted Yuga again, trampling poor Yoki into the dirt as they rushed toward their hero. Yoki lay there, wondering if he was the only person in the entire kingdom without a Valentine, utterly defeated. Yoki trudged back to Celia's manor. His spirit broke completely when Celia informed him that Cecilia was out working in the village. He fell to his knees, a man with no hope until Celia offered him a box of pity chocolates she had made herself. At first, his pride flared up, but after seeing her disappointed face, he swallowed his ego and accepted them like a good boy. The peace was short-lived. Duke arrived with urgent news. Envy had escaped. In the village square, a giant golem appeared, stomping through the streets with Envy's gang on its shoulders. Envy declared himself the avenger of the lonely, vowing to ruin Valentine's Day for every happy couple in town. The golem began vacuuming up every box of chocolate in the city, literally sucking the happiness out of people's hands. Yuga stepped forward to stop them, but Envy mocked him. "A handsome guy like you has no idea how ugly single people like us suffer." As the golem tried to crush Yuga, Yoki leaped onto a rooftop. He called out to Envy, telling him to stop taking his frustrations out on the innocent. The gang mocked Yoki, calling him a pathetic loser who didn't get any chocolate either. Yoki boldly shouted back that he did receive a gift. When they pressed him, he shamelessly admitted it was a pity gift from his friend's mom. "As long as it's made with true love," Yoki declared, "any gift is enough for me." Envy, disgusted by Yoki's optimism, attacked. Yoki dodged the golem's massive fists, taking out Hairborn and Jealousy before facing Envy's fire magic. Envy screamed that Yoki was just as miserable as them. But Yoki made a final stand. "I won't give up until I get a gift from the girl I love." Deeply moved, Cecilia, who was watching from the crowd, clutched the gift box she had made for him. Envy went into a frenzy, using the golem to absorb every last gift in town, including Cecilia's box for Yoki. Seeing his precious treasure swallowed by the monster, Yoki's fury peaked. Lightning struck from the sky as he redirected the bolt into Envy's grimoire. The surge of power melted the golem's chocolate-infused core, causing all the stolen gifts to rain down safely from the sky. As the golem vanished, Yuga caught Envy mid-errantly to realize Envy was actually a girl. She tearfully confessed that she hated the holiday because a boy had once cruelly rejected her. But when Yuga repeated Yoki's words that a gift made with love is always precious, she instantly fell in love with the hero. Yoki fumed in the background, realizing Yuga had just stolen his best lines. Finally, Cecilia approached Yoki. She handed him a gift box before shyly departing in her carriage. Yoki opened it, beaming with joy, only to find cookies. Duke pointed out that she had given cookies to everyone. Yoki's heart sank until he found a small cake at the bottom of the box. Happiness whispered that no one else received a cake. Realizing he was indeed special to her, Yoki let out a scream of pure joy that echoed through the village. A few days later, Clayman handed Yoki a report about pirates near the port town of Freemere, but Yoki wasn't listening to the mission details. His mind was already filled with visions of Cecilia in a swimsuit. Without a second thought, he accepted the mission. To the beach we go. Yoki's dream of seeing Cecilia in a swimsuit evaporated instantly. Due to a mountain of paperwork, Cecilia had to stay behind at the manor, sending Happiness in her place. The young harpy wasn't thrilled about the detour, but she proudly showed off her new weapons, feathers from her own body sharpened into deadly blades. To Yoki's surprise, Raven joined the mission as well. The knight was visibly flustered when he noticed the beautiful hair ornament. Happiness was wearing the very gift he had given her. Yoki tried to play matchmaker, but inside the carriage, the two were so shy they sat staring at each other like frozen mannequins. Upon arriving at the port town of Freemere, Yoki went to scout the area while Raven and Happiness consulted the locals. Happiness took the lead, and with Raven writing notes to assist her, they spoke to a local sailor. He explained that the cargo was vanishing as if by magic, and while the authorities suspected the sailors of smuggling, the man swore they were all honest workers. The only clue, every time a theft occurred, the guards heard a beautiful, haunting voice singing right before their memories vanished. When Yoki returned, Raven shared his theory. The culprit was a siren. As soon as Yoki mentioned the monster's name aloud, panic swept through the sailors. To them, sirens weren't just legends. They were man-eating monsters that had sunk countless ships. To calm the mob, Raven identified himself as a knight from the hero's party, promising that he and Yoki would put an end to the threat. While resting, Happiness teased Yoki for being so naive about human fear, reminding him that the common folk terrified of monsters because of the destruction the Demon King's Armiochus' former army had caused in the past. Raven interrupted the conversation with fresh news while buying sweets for Happiness, a moment so sugary it gave Yoki a toothache. A mysterious man had approached him, and revealed the siren's exact location. Though the source sounded incredibly suspicious, Raven and Yoki decided they had to investigate. For safety, Raven asked Happiness to stay behind, as he and Yoki prepared to face whatever was lurking in the dark waters of the harbor. The tension between Raven and Happiness reached a breaking point. Raven, haunted by memories of a village he failed to save during a past demon invasion, refused to let Happiness put herself in danger. But Happiness wouldn't budge. "I'm not that weak little girl anymore," she insisted, heading toward the suspected hideout. Yoki pulled Raven aside, reassuring him. "Trust her. She's stronger than you think." The trio discovered a hidden cave filled with stolen cargo. Suddenly, the water churned, and a beautiful siren emerged. As she opened her mouth to unleash a hypnotic song, Raven shouted for everyone to cover their ears. The sound was agonizing, but Happiness stepped forward. She began to sing a melody of her own, her voice neutralizing the siren's magic. With the sound barrier broken, Yoki raised a wall of stone to block the siren's escape. Allowing Raven to corner her, desperate, the siren burst into tears. "Please, save my friend," she pleaded. She revealed that humans had kidnapped her companion and were forcing her to rob ships. Raven, blinded by his past trauma, cold-heartedly refused to trust a monster. But Happiness did the unthinkable. She stepped in front of Raven's blade to protect the siren. "Why are you protecting the enemy?" Raven demanded. Happiness couldn't find the words, but Yoki stepped in. "Raven, look at her. A monster that hurts people doesn't cry like that." Reluctantly, Raven lowered his sword. The siren, named Shake, shared her tragic story. She and her friend Misaki were caught in a storm and captured by bandits. The criminals held Misaki hostage, forcing Shake to put sailors to sleep so they could loot the ships. Raven remained skeptical until they realized the treasure in the cave was just a trap meant to lure and kill investigators. Suddenly, the bandits arrived to finish the job. They made the fatal mistake of mocking Raven's effeminate voice. Cold and serious, Raven drew his sword. He tore through the group, disarming the leader with clinical precision. When the remaining thugs tried to flee, Yoki arrived to give a long-winded heroic speech only for Happiness to shove him aside and blow the bandits away with a single gust from her fans. Under the threat of Raven's steel, the leader confessed. They found Misaki locked in a cramped crate, her tail transformed into human legs. The reunion between the two sirens was beautiful. To show their gratitude, Shake and Misaki sang a true song of thanks. Melody so pure, it healed the lingering darkness in Raven's heart. Before they departed, Raven did something unexpected. He knelt before Shake and sincerely apologized for his cruelty. Shake smiled, gave him a gentle kiss on the cheek as a goodbye, and dove back into the ocean. Happiness, seeing the kiss, began to tremble with jealous rage. She slammed Yoki into the ground to get him out of the way, marched up to Raven, and planted a kiss on his lips. From the dirt, Yoki screamed in shock, devastated that he was face down in the mud during the most romantic moment of the mission. A few days later, back at the manor, Little Till delivered a message from Cecilia to Yoki. He thanked her for helping him on her day off, but Till just shrugged. "I only came here to see Guy anyway," she muttered, leaving Yoki to realize that even the statues in this house had better love lives than him. Yoki left Till's room feeling more confused than ever. Behind closed doors, he could hear the little girl squealing with joy, having successfully hidden her emotions from him. After giving Guy a fresh bag of magic crystals only to be scolded by the gargoyle for not taking better care of himself, Yoki headed to the manor for tea with Cecilia. But the meeting was a disaster. He made awkward jokes, gave unconvincing compliments, and eventually fled the mansion out of pure social anxiety. Desperate, Yoki turned to Duke for relationship advice. Duke quickly realized Yoki was so lonely he had no one else to talk to. But he was horrified to learn that Yoki had been using invisibility spells to lurk around the manor just to watch Cecilia train. "That's not understanding her better, that's a crime," Duke snapped. He called Yoki a coward, challenging him to stop being a tea time tagalong and actually learn who Cecilia really is to help him out. Duke dragged Mikana and Raven into the conversation. While Raven stuck to his notebook, Mikana opened up about the old days. She revealed that without Cecilia, the heroes' party would have imploded. Cecilia wasn't just the healer. She was the diplomat who handled Yuga's obsessed fangirls the mediator who fixed Raven and Mikana's communication breakdowns, and the strategist who managed their planning and finances, and Yuga. According to Mikana, he was supposed to gather ingredients for cooking, but he was so useless he usually just caused more trouble. Yet, she admitted that Yuga's pure heart was the reason they never gave up. Just as Mikana was about to reveal Cecilia's embarrassing nickname, Cecilia herself appeared with a terrifyingly polite smile. She dragged Mikana away for a long, pleasant chat about gossiping behind her back. Leaving Yoki and Raven alone, Raven, still too embarrassed to say the name out loud, led Yoki to the local orphanage that Cecilia frequently supports. As soon as they arrived, the children swarmed Raven, calling him the cold-blooded swordsman, his own cringe-worthy nickname. But then, the kids turned to Yoki and asked, "Where is the Saint Mother? Why hasn't she arrived yet?" Yoki froze. Finally, the secret was out. Cecilia, the fierce, organized, and sometimes scary priestess, was known to the children as the Saint Mother. As Yoki and Raven walked home, the mystery of the nicknames finally unraveled. Raven explained that because he rarely spoke and never killed his opponents. The kids dubbed him the cold-blooded swordsman, someone who sheds neither blood nor tears. He also revealed that Yuga was known as the Wandering Hero, while poor Mikana was stuck with the nickname the Eternal Friend. Yoki winced, choosing not to comment on Mikana being permanently trapped in the friend zone. When Yoki pushed for the truth behind Cecilia's Saint Mother title, Raven remained tight-lipped. "You'll have to figure that one out yourself," he teased. He then asked Yoki a crucial question. "Now that you know her past, what's your next move?" In an instant, Yoki's arrogance flared up. He hatched what he believed was a foolproof plan. He would take Cecilia on a dangerous mission, wait for her to be terrified, and then sweep in to save her like a knight in shining armor. Yoki waited for Cecilia in the town square. But his romantic mission was immediately crashed by Mikana, sent by Raven to keep an eye on them. When Yoki revealed he was taking them to a haunted mansion to exorcise undead, Mikana looked at him like he was the world's biggest idiot. "You're trying to scare her with ghosts?" Mikana shouted. "Yoki, she is a high priestess. Dealing with the undead is literally her specialty." Yoki froze as his dream of a damsel in distress crumbled. Mikana proceeded to verbally demolish him for his stupidity, telling him to actually pay attention to Cecilia's strengths for once. She took command, ordering Yoki to take the front line with Cecilia while she supported them from the back. Soon, Cecilia arrived, bringing Happiness along as extra muscle. As the group reached the eerie, fog-covered mansion, Yoki and Happiness tried to rush in with excitement. Mikana grabbed them by their collars and dragged them back, whispering a reminder to Yoki. "Stick to the plan. Let her fight, then wait for your moment to save her." With a sigh, Yoki stepped up to the front line beside Cecilia, while Mikana and Happiness took their positions in the rear, waiting to see if the demon general could actually pull off a successful date in a house full of monsters. The group entered the mansion, and any hope Yoki had of acting as the protector vanished instantly. Cecilia took the lead, wiping out the first wave of undead with a single holy circle. When a larger horde appeared, Yoki used water chains to bind them, but Cecilia again delivered the finishing blow. Yoki, trying to be useful, could only offer her a bottle of water to stay hydrated. Finally, they reached the throne room and faced the undead king. Yoki prepared for an epic boss fight, but Cecilia bluntly explained that he was just a regular skeleton. The only thing special about him was the intelligence he used to boss around the other mindless bones, Yoki. Feeling cocky, decided to toy with the king. He dodged a clumsy swing of the king's sword and kicked the crown right off the skeleton's head. As the king scrambled across the floor to retrieve his precious crown like a terrified child, even Mikana and Happiness started to feel bad. "Yoki, you're being a bully," they muttered, leaving the demon general speechless. Infuriated by the insult to his crown, the king attacked one last time, but Yoki disarmed him effortlessly. Broken and defeated, the king knelt, clutching his crown. Cecilia stepped forward. When she asked why he was so obsessed with it, the king confessed he couldn't remember, only that it was the most important thing to him. Moved by his devotion, Cecilia spoke with a kindness that reminded Yoki of the first time they met. She unleashed a high-level spell, Heaven's Rondo, a brilliant pillar of light that allowed the king to ascend to the afterlife with his crown in hand. The spell left Cecilia completely drained. Sensing his chance, Yoki sent Mikana and Happiness to double-check the mansion. Left alone with an exhausted Cecilia, Yoki offered to carry her. She tried to act tough, but her legs gave out. Without another word, Yoki swept her up in his arms, princess style, blushing furiously. Cecilia hid her face as Yoki carried her all the way to the carriage. Even Mikana had to admit, Yoki did a good job, though she felt a little sting of jealousy seeing how far ahead in the romance department he had moved. The next day, Yoki visited the manor, and Cecilia immediately begged him to keep her nickname a secret. "Why are you so embarrassed by it?" Yoki asked. Cecilia sighed and confessed the truth back in the heroes' party. Yuga used to praise her cooking and cleaning so much that he started calling her the mom of the group. Eventually, the kids at the orphanage picked up on it and upgraded it to Saint Mother. Hearing that the legendary dignified high priestess got her nickname just because she was a stay-at-home mom for the heroes' party, Yoki couldn't hold it in any longer. He burst into a fit of laughter. A few days later, Guy asks Yoki to find him a job, as he is tired of being a freeloader. Surprised, Yoki wonders if he made Guy feel uncomfortable in his room. But Guy explains that he simply wants to work for Till's sake. Guy points out that Till spends her hard-earned money every day to buy magic or for him, so he wants to return the favor. Yoki nods, realizing the gargoyle is serious, and agrees to find him a real job. However, when he visits the Adventurers Guild, disguised as the Black Thunder Magic Swordsman, along with Guy wearing a demonic mask, the receptionist nearly has a heart attack. Terrified, she screams for Clayman to come out and handle these scary customers. Clayman emerges from the back room complaining that he was busy with important work, but the receptionist points out he was just enjoying his wife's home-cooked meals, feeling embarrassed. Clayman finally gets to work and asks Yoki what he wants. Guy asks Clayman to make him an adventurer. Clayman agrees and completes the registration in front of the receptionist, who watches in awe. After obtaining Guy's adventurer card, Yoki takes him to town to buy weapons and equipment. Guy wonders why he can't just use his own magic, but Yoki reminds him that he needs to hide his identity as a demon. The next morning, Yoki returns to the guild with Guy to pick up some quests. Before giving them any, Clayman tells Yoki there is a special guest waiting for him. Shortly after, Yoki goes to the back of the guild where he finds Cecilia waiting. Even though he is disguised, Cecilia recognizes him, and Yoki surrenders without resistance. He wonders how she saw through his disguise. So Cecilia explains that Sophia tells her everything about the Black Swordsman's exploits. Knowing how troublesome Yoki can be with his antics, Cecilia got worried and came to the guild to check on him. Yoki assures her he was just trying to get Guy a job, which relieves her. Cecilia then asks why Yoki is wearing his hero outfit, and he explains he's just trying to match Guy's look. Cecilia then offers to help them with their quests. Yoki tries to protest, but Cecilia refuses to trust a rookie to him. The three of them decide to find a lost cat and set out to complete the task. When they find the client, Yoki scares them with his loud and exaggerated attitude. Cecilia steps in and calmly asks how they lost the cat. After a while, she draws a sketch of the cat based on the client's description and shows it to Yoki and Guy. Meanwhile, Yoki takes deep breaths of the cat's scent from the client's bodies. Once Cecilia finishes her questions, Guy wonders where they should start looking. Yoki tells him that normally people start by asking around the area and contacting local authorities. However, he switches to his hero gear and leaps onto a building's roof. Following the cat's scent with his powerful sense of smell, he soon finds the cat in an alley next to a stray friend. When Yoki tries to approach, the cat hisses at him, so he puts it to sleep with calming magic. He then returns both cats to the family and asks them to take care of the stray as well. After completing the first quest, Yoki prepares to accept another. However, Cecilia reminds him that he is supposed to be helping Guy learn how to complete quests on his own, not finishing easy tasks quickly using Yoki's demonic abilities. Yoki realizes his mistake, and Cecilia suggests letting Guy handle the work this time. After a while, they reach a forest where Guy begins gathering herbs. Yoki warns him not to take too many, so he only picks what is necessary. After the herbs, Guy moves on to eliminating a horde of forest goblins. Cecilia wonders if they should help him, but the fearsome demon easily dispatches the low-level goblins. They return to the guild, where Claymon hands Guy the quest reward. Holding the hard-earned money in his hands, Guy finally feels like a productive member of society, knowing how hard Till works every day. Despite his condition, he promises to work even harder to support her in the future. Both Cecilia and Yoki wish him luck, and Yoki even offers to accompany him on future missions. However, Guy wants to handle quests alone, as he is now confident he can find his way around the city. Yoki respects his decision, and Guy sets off on his own adventure. After Guy leaves, Yoki turns to say goodbye to Cecilia. She asks what he will do next, and Yoki explains he will do some rank A missions himself. Hearing this, Cecilia asks to join him. Yoki instantly gets nervous at the thought of questing with her and tries to make excuses. However, Cecilia refuses to back down, saying she has plenty of free time. Yoki points out she is still wearing her church attire, so traveling long distances won't be easy. Cecilia agrees, but only leaves to change into more comfortable clothing. With her new outfit, she is ready to accompany Yoki later. As they walk toward their destination, Cecilia comments that Clayman seemed quite pleased when they accepted the mission. Yoki explains that rank A missions aren't easy, though he thinks this current one is too simple. Cecilia intervenes and explains to the uncultured Yoki that exploring new territories and uncharted ruins is important archaeological work. Yoki wonders if they will fight exotic monsters, but Cecilia warns him to stay focused on exploration. She reminds him that this mission comes from a very important client, so the guild must have placed great trust in Yoki. After hearing this, Yoki finally decides to take the mission seriously. Later, Cecilia notices it is quite late, so she sets up camp to rest for the night. After lighting the campfire, Cecilia begins to cook. But Yoki feels embarrassed about spending the entire night alone with her. Still, he decides to simply hide behind his mask the whole time. With the extra confidence from his Lulu mode, Yoki creates a barrier around the camp to secure it against unwanted intruders. He then gives Cecilia a large bag of fruits and vegetables he gathered from the forest. Cecilia is impressed by his speed, but wonders why he is still wearing the mask even though they are alone. Yoki claims he needs to maintain his professional identity until the mission is complete. He even opens the mouth of his mask to demonstrate that he can eat while disguised. However, Cecilia refuses to let him walk around in that ridiculous outfit, so Yoki finally takes off the silly mask. Once it's off, Cecilia serves the soup. When Yoki takes a few bites, he falls in love with the food and begins to devour it. Realizing how desperate he looks in front of Cecilia, he quickly finishes what's left and puts the mask back on. Our protagonist suggests it's time to sleep, and Cecilia wonders why he wants to go to bed so early. Feeling bad for her, he asks if she isn't tired after all their adventures. Suddenly, Cecilia's sweet tone changes to one of delusional confidence. She proudly declares that she is a member of the hero's party tasked with defeating the Demon King himself. So a small mission like this means nothing to her. Even Yoki is stunned by her confidence. Before Cecilia returns to her normal self and explains she was just imitating him, as they rest, Cecilia remembers being called to the king's court to discuss another marriage proposal. At the time, she rejected it, saying she wasn't mature enough to marry. The king wondered if she was refusing because of Yoki, but Cecilia acted as if he had nothing to do with it. However, the king explained that this special proposal came from the heir of a powerful kingdom, so she couldn't reject it so easily. As the memory fades, Cecilia falls asleep. The next morning, they finally reach their destination. After entering the ruins, Cecilia takes out a book that releases a glowing sphere in the darkness. Cecilia offers to lead the way, but Yoki believes he should do it. She points out that his powerful magic could damage the ruins. Cecilia thinks she can easily handle any small monsters they encounter, but Yoki assures her he can explore the place without destroying it and takes the lead. After exploring for a while, Yoki detects a dozen monsters hiding in a room ahead. While Cecilia is surprised, Yoki sneaks toward the area. Seeing all the monsters gathered in one spot, Cecilia thinks they should change routes. However, Yoki steps forward and covers Cecilia's eyes before releasing an illusion sphere. When the sphere enters the room, all the monsters gather around it. Cecilia complains that she can't see, but Yoki keeps covering her eyes as they cross the room. Once they exit, Cecilia curiously asks what spell he used. He explains it was an illusion sphere, which traps people by showing them what they love most. In Yoki's case, he believes he would have seen Cecilia herself. while someone like Raven would have seen happiness. Cecilia then wonders what she would have seen, and thinks the sphere would have shown her a delicious cake, although Yoki is disappointed to realize he is less important to her than a dessert. They continue exploring the ruins in silence. They eventually reach the end of the ruins, which turns out to be just an empty room. Yoki is disappointed, as he expected hidden treasure or a secret boss monster. However, Cecilia is happy enough just recording the rare mushrooms growing inside. They leave the ruins through a different exit, finding a beautiful area with flowing water and lush vegetation. As they admire the scenery, Cecilia suggests resting at their previous camp before returning to the guild. The next day, they return to the Adventurers Guild. Yoki begins to brag about his wild adventures to Clayman, but Cecilia knocks him aside and presents her findings. Clayman is delighted, as detailed reports on ancient areas are incredibly hard to obtain. As a reward, he hands them a huge bag of money. Yoki is happy and suggests a party to celebrate. Cecilia agrees, but forces him to go home first to change out of his ridiculous outfit. However, when they return to Yoki's room, they find the door already open. Inside, they see Till collapsed on the floor with a ghostly expression, calling for her dear Guy. Till stands up in a manner worthy of a horror movie and asks Yoki and Cecilia to lead her to her beloved lord. Before things get too terrifying, Guy returns home. In an instant, Till's horrifying expression vanishes, and she joyfully jumps into Guy's arms. Guy apologizes for worrying her and explains that he has rented his own room in the city. He reveals he has become an independent adventurer and asks Till to stop buying magic or for him with her hard-earned money. Till refuses, reminding him she buys it out of love. She then drags him quickly toward their new room, leaving Yoki and Cecilia completely stunned. With the couple gone, Yoki finally looks in the mirror. He is horrified to see how ridiculous he looks. As Yoki rolls on the floor in shame, Cecilia feels bad for him. She decides to comfort him, saying she wouldn't mind wearing her own disguise to go on more missions with the Black Hero Swordsman. Hearing this, Yoki's ego inflates again, and he returns to his Lulu mode, promising to show Cecilia more of his incredible skills in the future.